Hi, welcome to ThreatTraq for October 18th, 2012. This program provides network security highlights, discussion, and countermeasures for cyber threats. I'm Matt Kaiser. With me today is Dave Gross. Thanks for being here, Dave.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, let's dive right into it. Dave, you've got some stories about some bad piggies.
Yes, I do. I actually have two stories here, so we have to be careful, make sure we're following on which platform I'm talking about here. The first one has to do with users of the Chrome browser. There's several add-ins that are fake Angry Birds and Bad Piggies games that are add-ins there. Barracuda Networks actually found this and did the research on it, so you can find the information on their blog. But basically, if you go to look for Chrome add-ins and you search for Bad Piggies, you'll find that there's 7 or 8 of them. And when they dug in deeper, they found that these were malicious. They ask the permissions that they're asking for is all of your data on all websites. So they have access to all this stuff, for these add-ins. And what they do is that they display extra advertisements for specific websites. So when you go to Yahoo, when you go to MSN, other kinds of websites like that, they'll display extra advertisements. So it looks like it could be, click fraud kind of advertisement stuff there. In addition, it can steal sensitive information because it's allowing access to your data on all websites. It can steal sensitive information like email addresses, like credit card information that you put in, things like that. As of the beginning of October, they were adding this up and seeing that there were about 82,000 Chrome users that had downloaded this and, maybe victims. So just be careful if you have one of these Chrome browsers and you've downloaded one of these things, you may want to uninstall it. Check it out, make sure that you're not running one of these malicious add-ins.
Interesting. Dave, do you know if when you install the Chrome version of it, it shows you who the publisher is?
That I don't know, but they were saying that the publisher for this, when you go and do a who is for the websites and stuff, they are hidden behind some of these private things where it doesn't tell you who's actually registered the domain. So they're saying that that's kind of questionable right there. All right. The next one I had was for the Android platform. So the first one was just for Chrome users, and a lot of times you don't think of some of these apps for the browsers, but this one is specifically for the Android users. There are rogue Bad Piggies games, apps that are available from non-standard stores. These are specifically from websites in Russia. This comes from the blog from Trend Micro, and basically what these do is they not only provide a game that you can play, but they also do premium services of SMS. And so basically what's happening is that they're going and sending these SMS messages behind the scenes, and the user isn't aware of this, but then they receive these large charges for these premium services. The apps are getting more sophisticated. I mean, they're putting in junk codes to try to obfuscate what's going on. They also encrypt the strings and decrypt it upon execution, so it's more difficult to do the upfront analysis. Excuse me. And it also replaces the class and method and field names with meaningless strings, and it makes the analysis difficult because you don't know what the classes are that are being called and things like that. The shortcut actually creates a URL which is a download to a browser update, and I think this may be the thing that actually does the unauthorized SMS messages to the specific numbers. And obviously, to prevent downloading these things, you should stick to legitimate app stores, and also, see if you can research the developers and stuff. Make sure that, like for this one, you should be getting something from Rovio, the company that usually makes Angry Birds.
All right, definitely a good suggestion. Moving on, I'm going to talk about a set of vulnerabilities in a popular gaming publishing platform known as Steam. Now, if you're a gamer, if you've played Team Fortress 2, Half-Life 2, or many titles, you may know of Steam as the way that you've downloaded it. If you're not buying in the store, there's a burgeoning market in digital content sales online. Steam is probably the place where you've gone to buy your games. It's a downloadable platform. It runs on a number of OSs, including Mac OS, PS3, mobile devices, Linux, and of course Windows. Now, a team of researchers known as ReVuln recently released a paper detailing some vulnerabilities relating to the Steam protocol handler. Now, this is a protocol handler. It's basically a way of specifying a URL so that it gets handled by a particular application. In this case, the handler is Steam : / similar to HTTP, FTP, and other ones you may have come across. This one is used for installing and uninstalling games, backup, validating and debugging game files, connecting to servers, running games, basically a number of actions that Steam itself can normally take. The problem is that anytime you have this handler, your operating system may try to actually use it. If it's embedded in a web page or sent to you and you click it, things like that. The researchers found that it supports loading of remote Windows file shares. So in cases where the handler's actions can take a file, someone can specify a remote file share, provide that file, and use it to effectively push content to your machine. They detail in particular the retail install command and the run game and run game ID commands have vulnerabilities. Retail install, it'll load an image file, and potentially a buffer overflow can occur from that, causing execution on your machine. Run game and run game ID can run the installed games you already have on your machine and exploit any sort of vulnerabilities in those. In particular, the Unreal Engine has known vulnerabilities, and also any games that use a customizable auto-update feature where you can push new updates to the user using that Steam protocol handler. If someone is hosting files on a remote file share and specifies that as an update, your game may not know the difference. They load it, execute it, and there you go. You're hacked. So the current fix that's suggested by the ReVuln team is to disable the Steam URL handler in your browser, which varies between browsers, and also the suggestion for developers to beef up their code, do a little more checking as to what is actually being provided in this protocol handler, and also to hopefully involve signed code updates. So it's a bit of an involved set of vulnerabilities, but definitely one that will impact a lot of people, seeing as Steam has about 50 million estimated users, and a good amount of money is actually changing hands there every day.
So, Matt, do you think this is something that they're eventually going to come out with a patch that makes it better or does better checking or something like that? Is there something that they can do in the actual Steam application to deal with this?
There is. Valve themselves, the people who created Steam and publish games on that platform, can do better stringent checking as to what's actually being handled, what sort of parameters are being passed through these. There's only so much they can do, though, without completely neutering the functionality that this protocol handler offers. The onus is also on game developers to add their own security checks to make sure that things aren't being, so the people aren't abusing these protocol handlers. As I said before, in particular, anytime that you have a game update feature that uses this and can take an arbitrary file. So as much as they're game developers, they're going to have to start being security-minded developers as well.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, Dave, you have something to say about the latest Java update.
Yes. Oracle just released a large Java update patch. It plugs 30 security holes in the Java. The new releases are either Java 7 Update 9 or Java 6 Update 37, depending on which Java version, main Java version that you're running. Of these 30 vulnerabilities that are being patched, 29 of them can be potentially remotely exploitable without any authentication, and some can lead to remote code execution and stuff like that. So some of them are pretty severe, so we recommend installing those Java patches as soon as possible. That's pretty much all I had. I just wanted to make our listeners aware that that's there and that they should be looking for that and patching it as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. It seems like every so often we hear about new vulnerabilities in Java.
Yes, and soon after they're released, then the attackers reverse engineer what the patches are and try to start taking advantage of the exploits before people get patched.
So yeah, the best advice in that case is to patch as soon as you hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thanks, Dave. Moving on, a little bit of news in the Flame malware family. Kaspersky Labs has just released a report detailing a new version, or a new family member, I should say, in the Flame family, which they're calling miniFlame. During their original analysis of the Flame command and control servers, they saw that there were 4 custom network protocols supported by those command and control servers. They were only able to identify one of the software kits, that was Flame itself, that was using one of those protocols, and they still had a couple other ones that were mysteries. One of them was referred to in the code as SPE. It appears in July, Kaspersky actually located SPE, the piece of malware that actually implements that protocol. And it seems that it can run not only by itself, but also as a component of both Flame and Gauss, which is also in that family. SPE, or miniFlame as Kaspersky likes to call it, is designed for data theft and remote access. It's only been found in a very small number of systems, maybe a few dozen, all of which were in Western Asia. Actually, I should take that back, not all of which. It seems that based on the sinkholes they're using to capture the traffic for these command and control servers, that the IPs that are checking in are mostly in Lebanon, a few in Iran, and then a few hits here and there, a couple VPN services in the U.S., which suggests they may not actually be from the U.S., and then an interesting one in France, which, as of yet, no one seems to know why. There are multiple variants. Kaspersky has found 6 of them so far, and I think they expect to find more. And one of the interesting things about the command set is that it uses first names as the commands. As you see from this list here, you have Fiona, Sonia, Eve, and it's kind of interesting. Some of them seem to map in a way that you expect, F maybe for file, for writing files from the CNC to the victim machine, S for send, perhaps. Some of them seem to be mnemonics, other of them, who knows. But Kaspersky Labs has put out a full report on the contents of that malware. Their full, I guess you want to call it an autopsy. And if you're interested in those details, you can check it out at their site.
So, Matt, how much activity do they think is happening with miniFlame?
Well, it looks like, based on their sinkhole data, between May 2012 and September 30th of this year, they saw about 14,000 connections in total from about 90 different IPs. If you do the math on that, it looks like for any one given IP in that range, you see maybe 1 or 2 connections at the most every day. Now, this is interesting because most malware that has a sort of a check-in function checks in much more frequently than this. So I think the designers had in mind that they wanted to try and keep as low a profile as they possibly could by minimizing their network traffic. Another interesting thing to think about if you want to sort of get in the heads of the designers is to look at these commands that they support. One, these all seem to be English names. You can take from that what you will. Two, there seem to be a certain number of features here that are specifically for spy. This is not your smash and grab job sort of thing. This is sort of a highly targeted piece of malware. And Kaspersky actually says in their report that they believe that this is more of a second stage-ish kind of payload where you would have Gauss or Flame do the actual infection. You would locate a target that's of high value, depending on who owns the machine or what work is being done on the machine. You would install miniFlame, SPE, on it, and you would use that for actual data collection because you know exactly who you're looking at that point. And there are features here for taking screenshots of a foreground window if it belongs to one of a set of predefined processes. And it's a long list, but there are things in there like, email, word processors, IM clients. So it's really, really, they know exactly what they're after and sort of have their own MO exactly.
So it's very selective then. It's not as general as we would think.
Incredibly selective, actually. And that actually is fairly good for the average user because typically you would not encounter this as a daily desktop user. All the evidence that Kaspersky has seen points to this is something that's, highly targeted, I guess is the right way to put it. So for those of you who are wondering if you should ever have to worry about this, I would say if you're not in Lebanon or Iran, chances are you will never come across this malware, ever.
Okay, and I see also that with the Tiffany command, they can switch the command and control servers, so it's not wired into the malware like in a lot of cases. They have the capability for changing it and hopping around.
That's true, and that's meant to prolong the lifetime of the malware, I believe. I'm getting a message here from our producer that we're not supposed to worry about this until someone reverse engineers it and turns it against Western targets, which is always a possibility. I mean, it's not uncommon for those who are playing the malware game, if you want to call it that, to take apart other people's code, learn from it, and improve their own. So if there's anything fantastically novel in this malware, I would expect that within a few months, maybe, you'll start seeing it being used on the open market as well.
So, Matt, how long has this code been around?
It seems that the code has been around since early 2010. Kaspersky has found about 6 different versions of it in the wild with differing features. And it seems that development on the miniFlame module actually ended around version 5.0, which is about the start of 2011.
So it's interesting. So this goes back 2.5 years, and they're just finding it now. But I guess that's not so unusual because this is supposed to be low and slow, and also it's not very widespread. It seems to be, focused in certain regions of the world.
Mm-hmm. Based on the quality of code that they saw in Gauss and Flame, and people believe that it's probably a state-sponsored malware, based on the quality of it, I would actually believe that there was a long development cycle involved, which explains why there's such a long timeline for the different versions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's interesting to note also that Gauss, which was a modular malware, used a number of last names and proper names for its modules: Cosmos, Girdle, as in Kurt Girdle, Taylor. And here you see not the same naming convention, but a similar naming convention with Fiona, Sonia, Eve in the command structure. So, again, one more reason to maybe believe that these are related malware. All in all, a fairly interesting piece of malware, and it's always going to be interesting to see what Kaspersky Labs finds next in this same family. That's our show for today. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can email threattrack@list.att.com. This video program is available at att.com/threattrack and on YouTube. An audio version is available from iTunes. Just search for ThreatTraq. Thanks for joining me today, Dave.
Sure.
I'm Matt Kaiser. We'll be back next week with another AT&T ThreatTraq. Until then, keep your network safe.